Hey, what's going on guys? Zero here, and today we're doing a different video. So a friend of mine asked, or was having trouble with deck building, so I decided to make this video to give an idea of how I go about doing that process. So we're doing a progression series, and I guess I'll be walking through how I went about making my deck for our first set, which was Dark Beginning 1. So that out of the way. Alright, so here was my polls, so let me sort this first. As you are doing your polls, you'll keep an eye out for specific cards that you think are good or noteworthy that you might want to include in your deck. But this can be pretty overwhelming. Like you see here, 283 cards off of 24 packs. So first thing I like to do is thin down the deck. So the way I go about this is, as you can see, there are a bunch of vanillas here. Yeah, so you see there are a couple Exodia pieces, so definitely not going for that strategy, so we can get rid of those. And then we have some weak vanillas that I don't really see a use in. Giant Soldier Stone, it has good defense, it can be used as a wall, so we'll leave that in for now. Okay, so we've cleared out a lot of the vanillas. There are still some, okay, tribute monsters. Yeah, I feel like generally in this type of format, tribute monsters aren't that great because you use your summon and then on the next turn it could be wiped out by something like Fissure and you just like wasted the summon. So I'm not too fond of those, so I'll get rid of those. Summon Skull is alright, it's 2500 for a single tribute. But yeah, everything else, like 2 tributes, no thanks. Sky Scout is our only 1800 beater. Oh, looks like we got some leftover trash. Okay. Alright, then, yeah, tunes, no. More tunes, buy. I don't think I pulled Legendary Ocean, but either way, it's only one copy, so buy. Yeah, so if this is your first time like seeing these cards, you may have to like read through it, but generally you look at Nuvia the Wicked. If this monster is normal summon, destroy this card. If your opponent controls any monster, decrease the attack. So, I mean, you can kind of tell this is already like pretty bad. Gearfried, oh, okay, that's another 1800 beater. Hysteric Fairy, also another 1800. Dancing Fairy, this just increases your life points by 1000 during each of your standby phases. Yeah, not that great. Cure Mermaid, same thing. Revival Jam, interesting case, I'll leave it for now. Mad Sword Beast, Piercing, yeah, too weak. Senju, Rituals, not playing that. Sonic Bird, Rituals, not playing that. Mother Grizzly. Okay. Vader of the Throne. Switch control a bit. Okay, that's interesting, but alright, I guess we'll leave that for now. Big Eye, garbage. Karate Man, interesting, it becomes a 2k beater, but it's destroyed at the end of the turn, so doesn't leave board presence. White Magical Hat, so this was something that I tried to center my deck around. So basically I was going for like a hand control type of deck. So it'll make more sense later on in terms of my card choices, but we'll leave that in for now. Hayabusa Knight, nope. Bubonic Vermin, if I had pulled 3, I would have considered keeping it, but just having 2 isn't really helpful. Electric Snake, yeah, not useful. Blast Juggler, also not useful. Morphing Jar number 2, this is kind of a meme card, didn't really want to use it since it's like kind of stally. We could leave that to the side. Banisher of the Light is interesting. It also serves as a wall, but it can also be used to deal with your opponent if they're like if they're trying to fuel their graveyard, but I don't know, I felt like this could end up hurting me as well, so I decided not to keep it. Ceremonial Bell, trash. So hopefully you kind of see where I'm going with this, but as you go through the cards, you'll kind of like be able to tell which cards are like useful and which cards aren't. Nimble Manga, I only pulled one sadly, so I would have liked to include more. But I opted for keeping 3 Giant Germ instead to try and develop board presence. Even though it does special summon itself in attack position, I value the board presence more. Jinzo 7's trash. Maneater Bug, pretty good. Hand, pretty good. Kisei Tai, trash. Mystic Lamp, trash. Wriggle, trash. Two Magician of Faith, pretty good. Amoeba, trash. And now we're left with 33 monsters. So I guess I'll be jumping into the spells. Exchange, meme card, but it could be a good meme card, so I decided to keep it. Soul Release, more of a side deck card until I know what my opponent's trying to do. Confiscation, very good. Nobleman, back row removal, pretty good. Final Destiny, Turn of the Doomed, also Chosen One, hot garbage. Red Medicine, hot garbage. I guess like at this point I should kind of like tell you how you can distinguish cards as being good or not. So when I consider what cards to put in my deck, I always consider card value. So Red Medicine, you increase your life points by 500. So when you think about that, you used up a card just to gain 500. And those 500 life points don't really change much of the outcome of the duel. Instead of gaining 500, you could have had a monster that you could keep as board presence. Or you could have had a trap that could like decide the outcome of an attack or something like that. So generally cards like these that only have a single use and then they're done, it's pretty bad. Cheerful Coffin, I'm not playing Dark Worlds, but it is interesting to keep it aside for the future. Giant Trune, pretty good. Hinotama, same thing as Red Medicine. You're not really gonna win a game all too often just by inflicting 500. Stop Defense, interesting since it could synergize well with White Magical Hat. Reign of Mercy, again, same thing with Red Medicine. You're not really getting much value out of it. Upstart Goblin makes a 40 card deck a 39 card deck. Elegant Aegis, nope. Eternal Rest, nope. Curse of the Mass Beast, nope. Reliable Guardian, even though I have like a lot of high defense monsters, the thing is the Reliable Guardian just prevents one of these high defense monsters from being destroyed in one instance, but it doesn't really help get rid of the monster that was attacking in the first place, so I don't really like playing this, so got rid of that. Tarot the Fickle, too situational. Rush Recklessly. So I decided to keep this since it could synergize well potentially with White Magical Hat. If the opponent tries to attack it with something that's like 1600, you instantly beat it out and you get to discard a card. So I figured that'd be pretty good. Monster Recovery, Toon World, nope. Mask of the Spell, nope. Jam Breeding Machine, Burning Land, I'm not playing Burn. Chain Energy, it could be good if you're trying to focus on burn, but like I said, the theme of this deck is hand control, so they don't really see this helping with that. Horn of Light increases defense. Again, same thing as Reliable Guardian. Axe of Despair is pretty good, since I can equip it with White Magical Hat to potentially get over certain monsters. Lightning Blade, that's only for warriors, and Axe of Despair does a better job, so nope. Mask of the Accursed, this was interesting. Normally I would consider it, but I didn't really want to play too much of like a stalling game this time, so I decided to take those out. Mask of Brutality is just a worse Axe of Despair. Mage Power, very good. Fairy Meteor Crush, it's kind of does the same thing as what Stop Defense tries to do. But again, it's meant to synergize with White Magical Hat. Malevolent Nuzzler, I didn't really want to play this since I already have Axe of Despair and Mage Power. So this is another thing to consider when deck building. You don't want to have too much overlap. So Malevolent Nuzzler increases a monster's attack by 700. Axe of Despair increases it by 1000. Mage Power will increase it by 500 attack for each spell and trap you control. So at minimum, it is getting a boost of 500 already. So I figured it wasn't necessary to include more than that. Mystic Plasma Zone. As you can see, a lot of the attributes of these monsters are like all over the place, so I don't think I'm going to be using any of the field spells. And just like that, we got our spell card count to 11. Guess we can follow a similar formula for getting rid of some useless trap cards. Numinous Healer, again, it's one of those like one-off healing cards that don't really see much use outside of that one time. Fake Trap, too situational. Trap Hole, very good in this format anyway. Fairy Hands Mirror, too situational. Time Seal, very good. Again, this is a hand control deck, so preventing my opponent from drawing, keeping their hand to a limited size is the goal of this deck to pretty much generate card advantage. Should change this so it's traditional. And it is limited, so only have one. Backup Soldier. Nah. Ceasefire, not playing Burn deck. Light Force Sword. This is also interesting, but in this situation, it's just a 1-for-1, and I'd rather have something that can like get rid of the card permanently rather than just banishing it until the 4th standby phase. So I opted out of including that. Torrential Tribute, very good board removal. Mask of Weakness, similar to Rush Recklessly, I think it could synergize well with White Magical Hat. Then Shadow of Eyes, I decided I already have Stop Defense and where is it? And Fairy Meteor Crush, so I figured playing 3 is a bit excessive, maybe 2, but when I was adding these cards to the deck, I mostly figured that my opponent would be playing a lot of weak monsters since I like have some here like Magician of Faith, Hane, Man-Eater Bug, Giant Germ, things you normally like set face down, so that was why I decided to go a bit heavy on those types of cards. Shift, situational. Dust Tornado, another good back row removal. Grave Robber, also situational. Attack and receive, again, not playing burn. Jar of Greed, decided not to use it. Enchanted Javelin, again, just a one-off thing. With these types of cards, it's not that there isn't a use for it, but if your deck isn't built around like gaining life points, then cards like these don't really like synergize with your strategy well, which is why you're better off like getting rid of cards like these. So healing card, Minor Goblin Official, for 500. Yeah, I'm not playing burn. Respect play. This would be interesting, except White Magical Hat discards cards at random, so there's no point. Tornado Wall. I think I only had one Umi, so it wasn't going to be like too effective. Spellbinding Circle. It's okay card for like stopping attacks. Type 0 Magic Crusher. Again, not playing burn. And the value, you don't get much value off it. Jam Defender. Nah. Fairy Box is actually a pretty good card since you have a 50-50 chance of calling it right, in which case if your opponent attacks into a White Magical Hat, then it can be pretty dangerous for them. Mirror Wall also accomplishes kind of the same thing. Mask of Restrict, this is a definition of a side deck card. Because if you don't know what your opponent is playing, then this is pretty much useless. Solemn Wishes, again, not playing a deck that gains life points, so no purpose. Dragon Capture Jar, I mean, I didn't really see much dragons in this set, but I guess it could be like a side deck card, depending on if the opponent is playing a dragon deck somehow. Infinite Dismissal seems like this would hurt me more than it would help, since I have a lot of level 3 or lower monsters. Yeah. Light of Intervention. Again, I'm also playing flip monsters, so this wouldn't really help me as much. Force Requisition. Yeah, not too useful. Gravity Bind. So in normal situations, I would be playing Gravity Bind since White Magical Hat is a level 3 monster. But at the same time, I decided not to like make the deck too stalling, simply because I don't think if it like got to that point, I think my opponent would be able to recover from the situation faster than I can. So I decided not to play Gravity Bind, even though it would be a perfect choice. Call of the Haunted, great card for reviving something. Skull Invitation, Burn, Magic Drain, very good for negating spells. So at this point we have it down to a 61 card deck. So once I get to this point, I like to look at the card ratio. So you see we have 33 monsters, 11 spells, and 17 traps. So your card ratio can vary between decks, but generally I like for regular like decks that don't really have a specific strategy going for it, I try to keep the ratio around like 20 monsters, 10 spells, 10 traps, just to keep it even. So we have a excess of monsters, so let's start by trying to trim that down. Okay, so Humanoid Slime, Earthbound Spirit, these are kind of overlapping with Giant Soldier Stone and Mystical Elf and Aquamador. And in fact, I may even get rid of the Mystical Elf since we already have 3 Aquamador and 2 Giant Soldier Stone. Like I said, I don't want to stall too much. I do want to keep a board presence. And you can see we don't have a lot of beaters. We only have Sky Scout, 2 Sky Scout, 1 Gearfried, 2 Hysteric Fairy, and also might get rid of this. I don't think we are playing much wind monsters. Revival Jam does keep board presence, but it's not as broken as it is in the anime, so I might get rid of that. So I feel like everything from White Magical Hat to Magician of Fate is a definite keeper. Everything else is kind of questionable. Summon Skull, Labyrinth Wall. Okay, I think I want to get rid of the Labyrinth Wall since it basically does the same thing that Aquamador and Giant Soldier Stone are trying to do, but I don't want to play too passive of a game, so I don't want to just like have monsters in defense stalling for me as I try to like draw something to get out of the situation. I am playing a hand control deck, so I don't want to have, or I don't want to brick too much with tribute monsters, so I think just keeping one of the elemental trio will be fine. And then what else? Can get rid of 1 Aquamador. I feel like this card is too situational. But yeah, at this point you start to like look at all your cards and just like consider among all your monsters which of these are like the least likely to like turn the situation around when you're like in a pinch essentially. So that's what I'm thinking as I'm like going through this. Okay, let's come back to this. I think we're okay on spells, so we want to like start taking a look at the traps as well. Chain Destruction. This is only relevant if my opponent is playing more than 1 copy of a card, and it's only 1 copy, so I don't see this helping me too much. So yeah, I'll get rid of that. Mask of Weakness. This is only 700. I don't see it like really like changing the situation a lot for White Magical Hat to proc its effect. So I think just keeping it at maybe 1 would be fine, or even getting rid of it altogether. I mean, I already have Fairy Box and Mirror Wall. Everything else seems a bit okay. Maybe Exchange, but if my opponent did open pretty strong, then I would want to like grab something out of that. In this case, I'd get rid of Upstart Goblin simply because I don't think I'm going to be trimming this deck any further down. And Upstart Goblin really only sees its use when you're playing like a 40 card deck, so it can become a 39 card deck. So yeah. So this is pretty much what I came up with for my Dark Beginning 1 draft deck. So hopefully going through this whole process helped you guys get an idea of how you can go about deck building. Again, the key points to consider is you want to develop your deck around a certain strategy. In my case, it's White Magical Hat hand control. Um, and from there, you can kind of like see how you want to build off your deck. So for me, I included cards like Rush Recklessly, Fairy Box, things like that. Just like try and synergize with it. But outside of that, it's mostly just staple cards. I guess the other key point is to assess each card's value um, when you're considering whether to add it to the deck or not. Cards like Giant Trunade, Confiscation, Torrential Tribute, the value of that is unquestionable. But for other cards, it might be more situational. So again, like I guess I'll leave you with this situation. Pretend you're in like a do or die situation. Uh, you have no cards in your hand or in your field, and you have to top deck one card. So you want to obviously make that card count. So think about what kind of card you would want to draw, and I guess that could guide you when you're thinking of what to include in your deck. Um, but yeah, that's it from me. This was a bit of a different video for me, so I hope this was helpful. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.